Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to call this meeting to order at 5:30. Mr. Arredondo, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Everybody please stand. Join me in the pledge to the flag. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All righty, thank you. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. President Joey Acuña Jr.,
Here.
Vice President Jocelyn Vargas,
Here.
Clerk Silvia Paz, Trinidad Arredondo,
Present.
Adonis Galarza Toledo, Valerie Garcia,
Present.
Jesus Gonzalez. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, item 1.4, do I hear a motion for approval of the agenda as submitted? My motion. Have a motion, do I hear a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item, board notifications, request to address the board. This is an opportunity for all members of the public to address the governing board regarding any items on the special board meeting agenda. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per person with the maximum of 20 minutes for each subject matter. We have a couple of them. May I, Abby Sanchez, please?
At CVU, as well as a parent at CVU. I just wanted to start my comment by saying today is not a good day for students of Coachella Valley Unified School District. Today is a day where a decision will be made that will affect their educational future for the next several years. With Coachella Valley Unified only having a graduation rate of 75% of students, the board has a very important decision to make. A decision that will either impact the students negatively and likely have even fewer students graduating from high school, or a decision that's made in the students' best interest. A decision not to RIF 59 teachers would be a decision that would positively impact the students. At schools like CVU, a quick glance at the last few yearbooks, you can quickly see that each year there is a new group of teachers with very few returning. Students lack continuity. They have no idea which teachers will return the following year. Many of us enjoy teaching at CVU and the unique challenges that present themselves from being in a remote area. 17 teachers at CVU received a RIF notice, which means next year the students will see even less familiar teachers than usual. For the entire school year, my students have not had the UCI math packets, which are part of our math curriculum. Having asked many different people where these math packets are, the only thing I have found out is that they were paid for, but my students have never received these packets. Even though this is a small example, this clearly is an example of the mismanagement of money in this district. The copies were paid for. Where did the money go? That same question can be made for the salary of the teachers. Why do so many teachers have to be laid off? Laying off teachers will mean larger class sizes, another decision not made in the students' best interest. If there is a deficit in the budget, the decision to lay off teachers should be the last resort. Board members, you have an important decision to make. It's much more important than laying off so many teachers. The real decision is, are the students you represent important enough to find other ways to cut the budget rather than impacting the students so negatively? I know of several teachers that have already had interviews with other school districts. These teachers are qualified. They want the students to be successful, and they enjoy teaching in Coachella Valley Unified. The loss of all these teachers will negatively impact the students of Coachella Valley Unified. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Carissa Carrera, CVTA.
Okay, good evening. CVTA has several concerns with the resolution you are being asked to approve tonight. I have shared my concerns with HR, but was told it is an accurate document. Here are our concerns. Paragraph 2 of the resolution states that Exhibit A is the list of teachers who received a notice on March 15th. It is not. If that's what it is, it would have 120 teachers listed. Attachment A is actually titled List of Certificated Employees Receiving Final Layoff Notices. Attachment B is blank, but it should be the judge's decision according to the resolution. Item C on the resolution states that the designee is required to issue final layoff notices to everyone on Attachment A if you approve it tonight. There are 59 teachers listed on Attachment A. Some of these teachers have recently been hired in the new coaching positions for next year, and therefore it will not create a vacancy for another teacher by being laid off. There is one teacher whose position someone cannot transfer into. There is another whose position was open for bumping, but the one qualified teacher declined to bump them. Why are these teachers still on this list to receive a final layoff notice? There has been no communication from the district to these teachers other than sending the judge's decision. Why is that the case? They have questions, they are worried and scared, and yesterday a letter went to teachers from you, the board, about Teacher Appreciation Day, in which you stated teachers are invaluable members of our school community. I'd argue that they do have a value to you, much less valuable than the millions of dollars of grant funds that have been mismanaged and will likely be lost, money that could have been used to fill certain gaps in the budget. CVTA does understand when cuts are necessary, and in this case it was an elimination of particular kinds of services. What we don't understand is the typical mismanagement of funds, the quick jump to cut teachers when there is a budget issue, and the lack of humanity shown to those teachers when this happens. Please make sure this resolution is accurate before you approve it tonight. There is no need to cause any further distress to these teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, item 3.1. Assistant Superintendent McLeod, adoption of administrative law judge's proposed decision regarding reduction or discontinuance of particular kinds of service pursuant to Education Code Section 44949 and 44955. So, do I have a
Yes.
motion?
I have questions.
Or do you want to, well, yeah, I was going to have questions, but do we have a motion on that, or do you want to do your questions first? You just- Yeah, I was just going to ask if the staff had anything to say about it first, but then before we made it, it's basically,
Ms. McLeod, I have a question. There were statements made, right? Not that they're accurate, because we see what happens all the time. It's a game, it's a political game. But is this in order and ready to act on tonight?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is
Ms.
there a
Paz, go ahead.
reason why Exhibit B is blank, or there is a different attachment I think I saw?
No, the attachments are correct.
So there is an attachment B attached there, I see. Did the attorney revise, based on the comments that were made, right, that were the 59 listed there, the ones who received? It doesn't imply that only they received it. I mean, I know language can be very technical, but have our attorneys reviewed that to make sure that we're not saying something that we didn't do?
That's correct.
My other question is, how many intervention teachers did we have?
50.
We had 50 intervention teachers. So those, and those were the positions we had one-time funding.
That's
So
correct.
we had to eliminate those positions, right?
That's correct. In addition to the 13 for the declining enrollment, and then in addition to the 6 TOSAs.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I raised this question, is it not? Okay. I raised this question via email, and the same concern was just stated via comment, is are we being accurate? I know that in looking in the list, there are people that have received other positions, people that wouldn't necessarily be affected. So I'm confused as to why this reads like we're going to give every single person on the list the letter when it's not necessary. It feels like it's not accurate.
We will have the 59 teachers that get a final layoff notice. There is a couple of teachers that went against that and decided to be laid off. That is why they are on this list. So we have to follow the process before we can do any kind of recension notices. So the couple of people that you had inquired about, they did decide to lay off, but we have to accept the resolution to lay them off first before we can rescind the other two positions.
So everyone's going to get noticed.
Yes.
And then some people may get a different answer. We're going to rescind the offers, what you're saying?
That's correct. But all of these, the list is correct, based on the judge's decision.
I mean, I understand it's like we're covering ourselves, but I feel like there could have been a more accurate way to do this. And maybe it's the way it's written, that's the issue. That's where, for me, it's, again, we're putting these people through more than they needed to. I understand it was necessary, but just like there was 121 and we didn't necessarily need that many with the skipping rules, now this is another group that's gonna we're gonna re-traumatize them, right?
And we also, that was also taken into consideration, the retirements that we received.
Yes.
That's why it went from, 120, then we will be, and then we also had the skipping and the bumping, and so now we're down to the 59. And that will, of course, as we move forward, there's still going to be movement. There's still going to be movement until the end of the school year, but for now, officially, we do need to send out those notices. We're obligated to give them notice by May 15th, and then we will see what our vacancies are toward the end of the school year.
But there are people who have accepted positions now, right? That we know that. Some of them have already accepted vacancies that exist.
And those are the coaching positions, which are temporary. So our employees that, for example, I believe maybe you're talking about 3 of them that may have applied for the coaching vacancies, we would have allowed them to apply for that vacancy, and then they would still get a layoff notice, but they may be brought back as a temporary coach.
I
Well,
understand
the
what you're
layoff notice
saying,
is
but-
going to the teaching positions. We're eliminating, a coaching position is different, but these teachers who are being, or the teachers who are currently occupying teaching positions that are being eliminated have an opportunity to apply for a coaching
That's
position.
correct.
Again, I understand that this is a blanket thing that we're doing to make sure that we're crossing our Ts, but I think there was a better way. And that's my final comment on this, is there was a better way.
Redondo, you have anything?
Not at this point. I think everybody has said what, some of the concerns that I have. Very concerned with the way we do things and the process, but, I continue to move forward. Thank you.
Jocelyn, you have anything?
I think what I'm like sitting with us, like everyone's kind of making the comments and things like that. I think as we're looking, I know that we've, kept in mind, sorry. I know that we, really kept in mind some of our, like our enrollment, right? Maybe there should have been things that we needed to have done, like, planned out, I think, so that maybe this didn't have to be to the extent that it needed to be. We know, we had a number of comments that were made electronically as well, specifically from the community at CVUSD. And so I think as we're looking at our staffing across our district, we really need to think about, equity and how are we making sure that staff is appropriately being staffed at our schools to ensure that we have, the example of CVU, right? And so I think for me, that's kind of what I'm holding right now. I think everyone's kind of brought up, the concerns, and I think for me, it's trying to think about the other pieces too. Yeah. Anything else?
Mr. Cunha, I have a final comment. In looking at how this is all played out, I can't sit here and disagree with Ms. Carrera that we could have managed this different, right? There's no doubt about it. Even the way knowing that we had funding that was gonna expire and it was large amounts of funding, the fact that we just got on this 2-3 months ago tells us that we were doing something incorrectly. This is something that should have been started the middle of last year, and if we had the proper leadership, I think this could have been mitigated to some degree. The hard part about this is the fact that we're dealing with families, right? People like the young lady that's up there talking as she holds her child, right? The uncertainty of whether or not she's gonna come back to work, and we're affecting families, and ultimately that's a tragedy. The other part of it, and I keep saying it all along, anytime this school district has some extra money, it's like, give it to us, because we deserve it. We're doing a good job as teachers, and give us that extra money you have. And unfortunately, when we do hand off whatever our reserves are, when we have challenges like this that surprise us or that show up, we have no reserves to try to mitigate this problem. So when we don't give money, we're a bad board, and then we give it all away, and then we're sitting here being criticized that we're mismanaging money. So it's one or the other. We're either all in it together or we're not. But I think what we're all feeling here at the dais today is the tragedy that at the end of the day, that families are gonna lose their job, or that they're gonna have some economic changes in their life. And that stuff isn't easy. And I don't take it easy, but unfortunately, as a school district, we have some tough decisions to make, and that's why we're here on the dais. And unfortunately, it's not perfect. As Ms. Garcia said, this process hasn't been perfect. We're a public institution. Sometimes you gotta cover your bases, and unfortunately, riffing 121 teachers knowing that probably at the end it's gonna be 50, that's just the unfortunate situation we're in, because again, we probably could have did a little better job. But what I'm feeling is the fact that the tragedy that families are gonna be affected as we make these tough decisions.
Anybody else? Oh, good. Yeah, I just, a couple of comments. Unfortunately, but the board did talk about this a year ago and said, hey, we have all this money ending, and we gave direction, and, we are ultimately responsible for what happens in this district, regardless of anyone else. But to your point, Board Member Gonzalez, we did raise it. We did raise that issue. And, I was told when I raised it, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, this money's gonna end, and then we're gonna have to do something, and here we are. The other thing is that, we get accused a lot of not doing things legally, and, we get called a lot of stuff and a lot of names and things that we do. So to your point, Ms. Garcia, I agree with you. We probably could have done this in a politically correct way, but unfortunately, at the point we're at, I need to know that this is a legal document and that we did cross all our T's. And, unfortunately, it is going to be uncomfortable for some, and, I can understand that. But at this point, our job is to make sure that we're financially responsible, and if this is the legal way we need to do it to cover our bases, for it not to come back on us, because like it has in the past, unfortunately, we have an opinion that we've done this legally. We've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's, so I think that's unfortunately where we're at. But again, going back to the point, we've all said it, and I think we all do not disagree with you. It could have been done a better way. Unfortunately, we're here today, and We have to do, in my mind, the legal thing and do it so it doesn't come back to us, or, you know, and then we'll get criticized for not doing it legally. So again, in the future, hopefully we don't have to do this too often. I know I've been here long enough to know that we've had to do this a few times. Some of you newer board members have never had to cut, never had to eliminate jobs, and it's not an easy thing, but unfortunately it's part of your job as well for that responsibility. But absolutely could have been done better. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Here we are. So with that, can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor to accept, again, we're not really adopting the administrative law judge's proposed decision regarding reduction or discontinuance. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2. I would be interested, since you're not adopting this, what your plan would have been to, where we would have got the money from. I would have loved to have said no too, but I'd like to know where we would have cut other places. I mean, if you have suggestions for that, because I don't think this is going to end with this. I think we're going to have future. So I would just like to ask in the future if you have ideas for where we should cut, what programs we should cut, what personnel we should cut. I would like to know those, because I think it's going to be very useful in the future, especially as we go through our LCAP.
Sure.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. All right, no closed session is necessary. Item 4.2, motion to adjourn.
I motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We are out at 5:51, 52, 51. We'll go with that. Thank you, everyone.